Hi, it's me, Ingrid NFP, and we're going to be reading one of my poems that I did. That's a little bit indicative of my wistful state, I guess. I posted it on my Instagram, but I think that it's worth going a little bit more into detail here. It's called Reserved, and it's on top of a picture of me as a kid, where I'm just not looking at the camera. A lot of photos in the photos that I looked at are basically me not looking at the camera. I don't know if it was an artistic choice from my mom or it was generally because I just did not like looking at the camera. I do have pictures of me smiling and looking at the camera and, normal, I guess, pictures. But there are a lot of pictures of me like looking down or looking off into the distance or doing something completely different. Anyway, so the poem is called Reserved. I'm sorting through old photographs, wondering where the years have gone. I take a closer look at my child self, so different from me now. I know her so well, both in and out, yet she is a stranger. I try seeing her as my little sister, but nobody was so close to me. My teachers thought I had no voice, my parents that I had no confidence, my friends that I had no will. Reserved, they call me. This bubble of hers is reserved for me. Only I can see the reserve of all that was inside. I cannot ask her to be proud of me, nor listen to my advice. All I can do is be that imaginary friend who also likes to flap the glossy photo paper. So, this is like basically me going through old photos and what I'm thinking about as I'm going through them and seeing my little self, this little introverted self. People didn't know who she was. They would, make themselves an idea of who I was without really wanting to go deeper. As I say in the poem, like my parents, they would always tell me to, be less shy. And my teachers, they would tell me that I needed to participate more in class and basically I was invisible. My nursery school teachers actually thought that I did speak French for the first years that I was there because I never spoke. I didn't speak unless I was spoken to, I guess. I rarely said a word. And funny thing, I remember the one time that I decided to speak was not even when it wasn't even when I was asked to speak. It was, we were having circle time and I don't know, I guess I was being bored. Everybody was quiet in the circle for some reason, or maybe sometimes the teacher would ask things from us oh, what do you think of this, or and throw the question out to this circle of kids, and I would never answer right, but I was not there. I wasn't even there in my brain, and I just started humming really loudly the flower theme from Alice in Wonderland Disney movie. I really like the singing flowers in Alice in Wonderland. I liked Alice in Wonderland in general. It was pretty scary movie, because Alice has a lot of crazy things happen to her and she doesn't understand anything and everything is very confusing. But I found the singing flowers were kind of comforting and all the scariness that goes down in that movie. So I did watch a lot of that. I watched a lot of Peter Pan as well and Pocahontas, but somehow I just started going like, and everybody stared at me. But it wasn't, and like they were all saying for me to shush, you know, but I think that they were more, it was less that they were angry at me for disturbing, and more, I guess, that everybody was so shocked that I actually could make a noise. So yeah, my mom got the feedback that they weren't sure that I could speak French. Maybe I was 4 at the time, and I definitely did know how to speak French. It's just that I didn't speak. I just didn't find a reason to speak to these people who didn't understand me and who didn't bother to want to get to know me because I was weird. I already knew that I was weird at that time, you know. I would play on my own in a certain corner of the playground. There was one boy called Nicolas, who, I don't really remember him, but he would go and talk to me sometimes. And he was nice about it, so I let him speak, I guess. And we were kind of friends. But all the girls on the playground were doing all these things which I didn't understand. I would sometimes join them, but I didn't find it very fun. And I remember just being scared of going to the other side of the playground where these girls were. I was so used to my little corner of the playground, so going to the other side of the playground was like extremely stressful for me. And I was really reserved, like I was this self-contained little bubble. And now obviously, now I'm thinking like, is that a sign of autism? Well, maybe, you know. It could just have been me being an introvert. It could have been me, you know, learning 3 languages at once, because I spoke English and Swedish at home and had to speak French when I was around the rest of the world. But I do think that I was at a loss of like, I think that other children are more natural in navigating this social world of little toddlers, you know. But yeah, so it's sad though that the teachers never went below the surface to like try to figure out what was going on with me. They just thought, they didn't care. I don't think that they cared at all. You know, we would make these little art projects. I remember that there was this one art project that I got really stressed out about. I think a lot of my just kindergarten years and nursery years were basically just me being stressed at not understanding what was going on and not having the courage to ask what was going on because everybody else seemed to get it. And that seems like a common autistic experience. But I think it's also a common kind of INFP experience, I guess, is a tiny INFP. Just like not really going to the beat of my own drum, and doing things my way. But I was very aware that my way was not the way that everybody else was doing things. So there was this painting we were supposed to do where it was based on like this artist who made these like very, like not primary colors, but you know, like very bold colors. And he painted these squares in different colors. And there was this pink square, there was a yellow square, an orange square, and a green square or something like that, or purple. Anyway, there was a certain set amount of colors. I don't know, maybe there were like 5 colors, and you had this sheet with different squares. I mean, mind you, I was probably around 4 or 5 when I was given this assignment. So I did not know math, you know, and I did not understand. But like, I shouldn't need to know math in order to do this. It was basically that you were supposed to do this while not having any color touch each other. So you couldn't have two squares that were next to each other that had the same color, because then it wouldn't look like a square, I guess, you know. But I thought that by touching, it meant that diagonally you couldn't have the same color. But actually that wasn't the case. The case was just like the sides shouldn't touch, but not the corners. The corners it was fine. And I realized, like, I'm running out of colors and I couldn't change the amount of colors regularly in a way that could make the colors fit. And, you know, and everybody else was like done within a few minutes, you know, and they were like just painting and, you know, being sloppy in the way that kids were. And I was just like frozen in front of the picture frame that I was supposed to fill out. And I was like calculating, thinking, and just like paralyzed. In the end, I managed to do it. I don't know how. Maybe somebody came and helped me. But I was just like overthinking it completely. So basically all my memories of kindergarten were not good. All of the things that were happening at school. And the teachers, I don't remember any of them doing anything nice to me. Let's just say that. They were just very grumpy ladies, I would say. And they would want you to do things in a certain way, and they would shout if you did something the wrong way, and I did not like that. And yeah, then I advanced to other stages of school, and things got better, I guess, in certain ways, because I did speak and people knew that I spoke, but it was every year for all the subjects, it was like, does not participate in class, you know, is a lovely student, you know, I was very well behaved. That wasn't a lot of the stuff, but nobody asked like how I was doing, you know. I hope that nowadays like schools try to ask you how you're doing as a kid, you know, but like nobody asked. And I just kept going, you know, somehow. But I was aware that I was different in some way. And it wasn't like me trying to be special, even though I did want to be special. It was that like I wasn't connecting, and I knew that there was this huge imaginary world inside my head that nobody else was getting. I knew that the way that I expressed things was not the way that you were supposed to do it or that anybody else was doing it. I would laugh a lot, but that was not always socially acceptable to laugh. People thought that I was laughing at them, which wasn't really the case. And I still do that. You know, I've gotten better at this. Unfortunately, I've had to adapt. You know, I've come to learn that people don't like being laughed at, and that a lot of I thought I was laughing with people, but I was actually laughing. It seemed like I was laughing at a person. And in a way I kind of am, you know, when somebody does something silly, I laugh. But it's not with bad intentions. It's not like I'm laughing because I want to demean them. I'm laughing because I've figured that it's like a good way to diffuse the tension, I guess, and also because I am enjoying myself and I'm expecting somebody else to, but the other person like basically hates me because they think that I'm insulting them. And so basically that's been my whole life. So yeah, teachers don't know me. And my parents did know me more, but they thought like, maybe I should have more confidence to actually speak to other people than them or than my closest friend or something. And my friends would boss me around. And my first grade friend that I still know to this day, she would boss me around to a tremendous degree. And I just followed along. But I knew that something wasn't quite right, and I was actually trying to escape the situation. I didn't know how because I didn't have many other friends. I did end up getting a friend, but then she left for the US. So I was kind of stuck with this girl who was bossing me around all the time. And so yeah, my friends didn't really respect that I had opinions too and a will of my own. And yeah, so I do know that I was in a kind of bubble. I did not learn things about life until much later than other people, I didn't know that people shaved their legs until I was about like 15, I was like so shocked that all of these girls my age had been shaving for years. And I was like, what, Like, why should I care about having hair on my legs? It just grows there, And there was all sorts of those kinds of social things that people pick up, it seems, but I didn't pick up on anything. So I was just like finding out things that other people had understood for years, And I was always behind in all these social things. And I didn't know what sex was until much too late, I guess. And I didn't know what all these adult things were. And I was kind of oblivious to everything going on around me. So sometimes people had to explain things to me because I didn't know, and I feel really naive, but that's kind of how I was. So yeah, it was kind of a bubble. It wasn't just that I was actively, that I didn't understand. It was also that like I was enclosed in this bubble. But yeah, people didn't see how much was going on inside there. So they just thought that it was pretty empty inside when maybe it wasn't, And I guess because I was smart at school, people realized, oh, you're smart, but they didn't really listen to my ideas, because I wouldn't voice them. I would just keep it all to myself, which is a shame, Maybe I would have gotten more confidence if I had like shared certain things and gotten people to know me and all of that, but it was too risky. And so yeah, it seemed like I had no voice because I was so scared all the time, because I knew that I was doing things wrong and I didn't want to do things wrong. The last thing I wanted was to get into trouble. That was like my greatest fear, to get into trouble. So yeah, I think that the only people who really knew me as a small kid, until maybe sometime during my primary school years, were my imaginary friends. So I try to put myself in the situation where I myself am an imaginary friend to my younger self. Because there's always like this therapy thing where you're supposed to speak to your child self as if you were an older sister or the person that you needed to have when you were small. But I think that the person that I needed when I was small was that I would have accepted at that time was probably just another imaginary friend. So if I put myself into it, like, okay, so I'm the imaginary friend of my little child self, then things make more sense to me. I know that that's maybe not a very useful distinction to make, but to me it is, because I wouldn't have let anybody real get that close to me, I guess. Not nobody real who would actually have real conversations. It's more just somebody who was around, I guess, and who saw the extraordinary things that were going on inside my head. But because it was so inside of me, I don't think anybody really saw it. My mom did. My aunts did, really. But my dad didn't. He didn't understand what was going on. But I mean, he's very introverted as well. But I think that he was thinking logical things in his mind, and it's hard to imagine my dad like ever being a playful, imaginative child, because he grew up very strict and like ISTJ rigor, and also some kind of OCD or whatever he has. Kind of, but he was probably autistic as well. He was probably struggling with the same sorts of things as I was. It's just in a different flavor in a way. So it's weird to look at pictures of myself as a child, because it's like, it's me, but it's not me, and I'm like, what am I? Who am I? What am I doing? And it's a little bit disconcerting. But I did do that while I was in France, and had access to these old photographs, and I get into this headspace of like, it's like this headspace of like, I'm not doing anything productive right now. I'm just thinking wistfully about the past and trying to see if this past has any connection to me now, and if it does, like, what does that mean? And it's like a kind of daydream like state, but that is coupled to my memories, and to my sense of identity. I think it can be useful to go through old photographs if you have any, sometimes. But it's like looking into a mirror. If you look into a mirror too long, I don't know if that's something that other people have, but if you look into the mirror for too long, then slowly you start like not recognizing the face in the mirror, you're just like, sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, wait, who is this person? I forgot, and sometimes I'm like, well, of course this is me, but it's strange, because you get to see all of the gradual change, so you're like, okay, well, this is me, and that is also me. I wonder how it must have been like before the era of photography, because I guess that people never saw their child self, and maybe they would see like a reflection of themselves in a mirror or something. But before mirrors, like basically the only vision of yourself would be in like some water, maybe, but it is a strange experience, and I don't know what it means. I need to think about that a little bit longer, I guess. But I did want to share this poem that I wrote because I think it is a kind of a reframing of a way of how I used to in the past see my child self and how I'm seeing it now. And I've always known that though I was reserved and all that, but now I'm thinking like, well, maybe this girl could have gotten some help, you know? And it's not my fault that she was the way she was, and that person is me, so it's not like there is a reason for this, and that reason might be neurological, and I deserved better. And even though I had people around me who were kind to me and loved me, they didn't understand me, and some of them did not even try to go deeper, to dig deeper about like, who is this person, you know? And I believe that children are just as full human beings as adults. And I think that a lot of adults forget that. They're just like, they think that children are like one-dimensional. And, they are more black and white and simplistic in their thinking process, But that doesn't mean that they're not fully fledged human beings, with complex lives and wants and thoughts. And I think that had somebody dug a little bit deeper, maybe they could have helped me like towards a path of, being more confident for real, If the goal was actually giving me some confidence, giving me some self-worth, they could have gone about it another way than just telling me to have more self-confidence, telling me to be less shy, telling me, go and say hello to this person, or like telling me that I was in some way strange for not having friends, If they had like, it's not like I would have been helped of having a diagnosis at that time because, it was the 90s. But they could have said, oh, well, here's Ingrid. She, she likes thinking up imaginary friends, she likes playing with My Little Pony. Maybe you also like playing with My Little Pony. Let's put you two together, just something simple like that, like helping me in some soft way. Instead, everybody was just like, if I got bullied, nobody cares, If some kid steals one of my pens or something, you should have, you should have protected yourself or whatever. And it's like, I'm 3, sometimes, adults, I'm not saying that adults need to like step in and overprotect their kids, but they could steer a little bit the situation towards it not being absolutely terrible for me, and have made it a little bit more inclusive of all sorts of people, because it starts early. I mean, the bullying, the ostracizing, the confusion about life, and this feeling of not being enough, of not being listened to, of being shamed for just being who you are. It starts at 3 years old, it starts when you're almost like a baby. And I wish that somebody had just been a safe presence. And there were some of those people, but these weren't people that were around in my life every day, you know. My mom was, somebody I could go to, but, when I was at school, it was pretty much me on my own against the world. And I wish that maybe there had been a friend there or some trusted adult that could help me navigate these situations without being condescending to me or acting like I was abnormal for just being myself, So, this is a bit of a downer video, I guess, but I do think that it's important to talk about on this channel because my childhood is a part of who I became today. I'm not that same child anymore, obviously, but it does. You can't completely erase the past and forget the past. It was a thing. I'm trying to get away from it, but I can't escape it. It's there. It's going to be there. And I might as well, have that compassion for that little kid who was doing the best that she could, while at the same time not being judgmental, and not judging her or trying to be her, just accepting that there's differences and there's similarities, and that I've grown, but that at that point I didn't need to be grown, I was small, and so I need to accept the fullness of, okay, so I was small, and things were difficult, and they still are. It's just a very different way, so I don't know, I've gone on for way too long now, but I think that it was important to make this video about my poem. Have a great day, everybody.